You know, Pan, I love when folks get stuck on stupid, and Karl Rove truly was stuck on stupid this week. How could this man go on Fox News and say that President Obama suppressed the vote? All of the stuff Republicans tried across this country. And it was interesting, you had some of the, one of the trending topics on Twitter was stay in line. We talked about holding the line. Oh, yeah. I've been saying it, I wrote about it this week. Black folks were so ticked off. I told Cornell this thing was so ticked off that the Republicans fired up black folks in your state of Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Florida. You had brothers and sisters in Florida. Even after the race was called, it was raining. They said, I ain't leaving.
And you know, to his credit, Cornell actually called this about 8 months ago. His polling showed that the more the Republicans were attacking President Obama, the voter suppression stuff, and more the racialized the language became, the more the enthusiasm in the African-American and Latino community, black and brown communities went up, and they probably totally missed it.
Elroy, every time Donald Trump opened his mouth, black folks got ticked off. When John Sununu had the audacity to denigrate a four-star general who has served 4 presidents by saying, oh, he only endorsed him because he's black, polling data, the exit poll showed that helped with independent voters. And so the Republican Party really helped the president because let me tell you something, the campaign, there was some worry about enthusiasm among those base voters in 2008. What the heck was the GOP doing?
Well, you know, Karl Rove's a smart guy, back to that first point. But every now and then everybody throws some mud on the wall and hopes something sticks. So that's what he was doing in the 11th hour, all right. John Sununu and Donald Trump and all those guys, they were playing to the base. That was smart politics from their perspective.
Oh, yeah, but they also played to Obama's base, and it backfired big time.
Base. Now, here's the challenge again, and going back to Karen's point, and I'm going to keep beating this horse. 8 years ago, we had the big debate at the Apollo with the Democrats. Where was the debate on urban issues? It did not happen, my friend. We didn't talk about unemployment being double digits in Philadelphia, in Detroit, in Compton, in Cleveland, in Baltimore. We didn't talk about gas prices, how it impacts. We didn't talk about home housing prices being depressed in these urban areas. We didn't talk about schools closing down. Detroit had 21-something schools 8 years ago. Now they're down to 9, cut in half. There was no debate on either side of the aisle, and we pushed Republicans to say, come up with an urban agenda.
That's right.
That's where
Mitt Romney didn't discuss any of that at all. He didn't discuss any of that at all.
In fact, Mitt Romney only gave one interview with a black news outlet. Now it's Black Enterprise.
It wasn't. It doesn't. But what the Ryan budget would actually do in all conditions, that was his agenda.
Republicans gambled that there was going to be enough of the base to turn out. They gambled that African Americans and minorities were not going to turn out, and we lost big time.
Allison, who's a casino magnate,
he crapped out. But at the end of the day, who's the real loser, though? Are the coalitions that supported Obama?
No, the urban coalitions are always the loser. I mean,
that's my point.
Detroit, D.C., Philly, come on, guys.
The Republican Party will rebound.
We're the very ones who, when you look at whether even the Bush tax, the fiscal cliff, who's going to fall off the cliff? Practically 88% of households in this cities in this country will be affected if those tax cuts are not kept in forth, or there's a compromise between Republicans and Democrats in Congress as to what's going to happen.
Speaking of that, here's what President Barack Obama...
But we've put all of our eggs in that one basket, remember?
Well, first of all, President Barack Obama spoke about this issue. So here he's talking about compromise.
And in the coming weeks and months, I am looking forward to reaching out and working with leaders of both parties to meet the challenges we can only solve together. By itself, the recognition that we have common hopes and dreams won't end all the gridlock or solve all our problems or substitute for the painstaking work of building consensus and making the difficult compromises needed to move this country forward. But that common bond is where we must begin.
Now, President talked about that. In terms of the next step, where will African Americans be to ensure that we are not left on the doorstep when it comes to the negotiations that are going to take place between President Obama, House Republicans, as well as the Senate?
I think our responsibility is to continue with the same level of intensity that we did in the campaign through this public policy conversation and make sure that we advocate for the issues that directly impact our community, and make sure that when we have infrastructure conversations, that and reinvesting in the infrastructure, that the infrastructure is redefined as urban neighborhoods and small cities which are dying dramatically and need boosts investments.
Are black folks still going to press this president? Are they going to press Democrats in Congress and the Senate to ensure that if there's a compromise, we are not compromised?
We better. And I think we need to actually find common cause with Latinos and together, because remember, the very important message out of this election was nobody can win a national election without black and brown voters, period. The Democratic Party is as much on notice about that, frankly, as the Republican Party. I mean, President Obama proved that twice now, right? So we have this moment in time where we can leverage that power. And if we don't, that's on us. So, yes, we need to be at the table, and we need to make sure that we are applying the outside pressure on and holding our elected leaders accountable while they go through these negotiations, not just to make sure that we don't fall off the cliff, but to make sure that actually the things we care about are on the table in the first place as part of the conversation.
Absolutely, the things we want, which is why I hope Cornell doesn't have to look for a job, because you need somebody like that.
He's gonna be working. Don't worry about it. Cornell will be working.
No, you need.
Guaranteed.
You still need numbers like that to know exactly where programs will be targeted.
All right, folks. Karen, Elroy, Deborah, Senator Hughes, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.